Greetings, and thank you for joining the Capstone Group for this important Zoom event. Before we get to our main presentation, a bit about the Capstone Group. We were founded in August of 2018, inspired by the Howard University student protests that took place earlier that year. We are a dynamic collaborative of Howard University alumni, faculty, students, staff, and community that proactively address issues relevant to the Howard University community. We provide an empowering platform to exchange ideas and experiences to affect positive change. Now, sit back and enjoy the presentation, and remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We have a very interesting event for you this evening. We've got, actually, we're blessed with two great talents, our host and also our guest artist, Jay Durrah. So a little bit about our host, Louis Paul Long. In 2012, Louis Paul Long founded the Long Gallery Harlem in New York City. Long Gallery Harlem is a contemporary art gallery that serves as an exhibition and monetization platform for underrepresented emerging artists. He's the Associate Director for External Affairs for the new Columbia University Wallach Art Gallery in West Harlem. Previously, Louis spent nearly 25 years in corporate sales and marketing leadership roles. He established a track record of managing mega consumer brands, identifying new revenue streams, and creating long-term shareholder value through his launch of his new businesses for CoverGirl Cosmetics, MicroStrategy Enterprise Software, Verizon Fios, and ADT Home Automation. Louis previously served as a White House Fellow in the Office of Management and Budget, and I believe that was under the Obama administration. He created economic development policy initiatives that enabled his hometown, our hometown, Washington, D.C., to emerge from Federal Financial Control Board authority, spurring unprecedented property value, revenue, and population growth. Louis is a member of the Resilience Education. He's the chair, Sigma Pi Phi Fraternity Arts and Culture Committee chair, and the Howard University Board of Trustees Art Committee. He received a bachelor's degree in finance, cum laude, from Howard University and an MBA from the Harvard Business School. Without further ado, I will introduce the host who will engage us in great dialogue with Jay Durrah, Louis Paul Long.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Shawande, thank you, Maria, and thank you for the Capstone Group for having me here tonight to host as well as interview my bison brother, Jay Durrah. I'm really excited about, jumping into learning more about and letting you hear about his practice, the materials he uses, what his inspiration has been, what's coming up next. So Jay Durrah is a self-taught artist. He began working at the age of 9 when his grandfather noticed his skills. I mean, everyone remembers, at least who lived in the analog world, when the TV Guide and other magazines would have this image, and then they would ask you to, it was a great promotional kind of way to get people to seek information about art schools. And so it simply said, if you can draw this, you can be an artist and then come to our art school. So that was an early point of stimuli. He uses amazing colors, figures. He calls himself a abstract expressionist. He has received some formal training in addition to his Howard University degree at the Corcoran School of Art. He is shown at galleries and museums and music festivals across the country. He's had a number of solo shows, and he has also been in a group show at the U.S. Embassy in Rome. He primarily creates portraits. He's done a number of projects, commissions around the Washington, D.C. area. He also is active in his community and is engaged with working with youth, both locally and nationally. As I said before, can't say it enough, he's a Howard University alum. He graduated in 1983 with a degree in political science. So now we're going to take a look at some of his work. And what I will let you know tonight is that all of this work is for sale, believe it or not. And so, you know, I echo Maria, you know, and it's not just about, it is about enjoying the work, it's learning about the work, but it's also about supporting the artist. And so I think, you know, from the vantage point which I sit, I think his work is an incredible value, and more important than the dollars associated with it, you will gain incredible enjoyment by living with it. And so I encourage you to enjoy this digital gallery of sorts that we will scroll through, and we'll show you a few pieces and we'll ask questions, and we'll show you a few more pieces and ask questions. And if there's a piece that kind of resonates with you or sparks, you know, kind of like your thinking, then take note of the name of that piece. And Jay's website should be in the chat for everyone to see as well. And so you can get more information in the chat. You can get more information on his website. You also can go to his website and find pricing and a direct path to purchase this works. I believe also Jay has indicated that he would make a portion of proceeds available back to the scholarship programs of the Capstone. Yes. So I think this is an awesome way to, you know, be informed, to secure some amazing art, and also to support scholarships. You can get a 3-for-1 tonight. So with that, let's look at some of this work. Mona, Her Smile, and Hattie and Henry circa 1900. And so Jay's website is simply jaydurrahsart.com. That's JAYDURRAHS. It's important to have that S, jaydurrahsart.com. Please visit the website and please consider purchasing, and actually purchase some work. It'll go for a great cause. You have beautiful work to look at. You'll support this great artist, and you'll help some students. So with that, if we can bring Jay on the screen, I'd love to kind of get into our conversation a little bit. Hey, Jay, how are you, man?
All right, I'm doing great. I hope the sun doesn't mess up anything.
Oh yeah, no, it's okay from our perspective. Okay. It might, as long as you're okay.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm good.
You're good. So now you've given us a frame and have teased us with a portion, a detailed shot, as we would call it, of a work over your head. You know,
okay.
Yeah. Why don't you? Is that self-portrait?
Yeah, that's a self-portrait. I was trying to get into the National Portrait Galleries. They have a entry every like 3 or 4 years. They have an entry to the National Portrait Gallery contest, and this was my entry. I didn't make it, but I was pretty proud of this piece, though.
Yeah. Well, I could definitely tell it was you. So,
right.
You know, but I think it does highlight your signature style. So I'm glad that's there. But I want to, you know, as we talked before, I want to kind of go back to some of your earliest memories of your noticing, your appreciating, or your even just having some type of aesthetic memory. Like, what is the earliest memory that you have of seeing an object that you thought was like, wow, that is beautiful, or that's significant, that's something, and it could be anything?
Well, I grew up in a single family household with my mother, my sister, but we always lived in walking distance from my grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about it now, my grandparents were a huge influence on me, and they were crafty people. My grandfather, he would make model ships and model cars, And then later on in life, he started hooking rugs and doing leather work. And my grandmother would make quilts and
Oh,
knit
wow.
and crochet. So I realized this like later in life that I was grew up around some crafty people. So I think that had a great influence on my younger years.
That's very interesting. You know, and you think about it, you know, in terms of visual culture, like those examples are very powerful examples. Metal, leather, quilting, you know,
Right.
was your grandmother a part of a quilting circle of sorts, or was this something, an independent hobby? Like how did that
Yeah,
resonate in her life?
she was part of the quilting circle, and they would get together and just do a patch at a time. But she had skills though. She could really sew. Everybody in the neighborhood would get her to sew stuff for him. And my grandfather, after she sewed it, he used to be, before he worked in the mill, he would work at a cleaner, so he would press the clothes down, the seams down for her. So they were like a team.
Oh,
working
wow.
together. Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. And then tell me about your grandfather's model building and his leather work.
Okay. He would I remember he would do model cars, and I mean, it was, if you remember the kits, you had to paint each piece of it, and he wouldn't let me touch it. I couldn't touch it, but it was amazing how detailed and intricate these pieces turned out to be, man. Wow. And it I think I tried it when I got older. I think I may have gotten a model car. I may have put one together, but
yeah,
I wasn't as interested as that.
That takes a lot of patience and detail.
Yeah.
You know, but I think, you know, the most, and what about the leather? I wanted to hear about the leather a little bit as well.
And this was, he ordered this through the mail, but he just had these leather pieces, and they gave him these metal tips, and he was making wallets and things like that, and putting the designs on.
He's an artisan. You know, yeah. I just always just appreciate hearing how, you know, our forebears who, you know, didn't grow up going to the Whitney Museum necessarily, or at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Maybe some did, but, you know, I know mine didn't. But yet they had a strong aesthetic. And the reason why I asked you that question is that I was trying to think about that question for myself. And it came to me one day that I remember my mom was a school teacher in DC public school teacher. And, but one thing that she loved to do, and she did quite easily, was make bulletin boards. And she could freehand anything. She could freehand letters, she could freehand shapes. I mean, she would get her boards up like this, and then she'd help everyone else do their boards. And when we were kids, she would then do she'd help us, you know, like do our projects when you had to do those, you know, things for school. And so, you know, I was just trying to think about an early memory about, you know, aesthetics and visual, and in many cases they come in the form of crafts, right, and artisanship, and so I want to put a pin here, and that's for anyone listening, that if you have a young person in your charge or a young person in your home, it is as important for them to be outside playing as it is to stoke their creative energies as well. Because you just don't know. You may have the next Jay Durrah in your house, and you don't know how having them at the table cooking and mixing things, or sewing, or mixing paint to paint can really stimulate something inside a young person that actually makes them kind of spark and see a spark to become an artist. And so I just wanted to make that point.
And if I could just add to that, I remember the first piece of art that I bought. It was a poster, a black light poster with a dude with afro. Y'all remember those with the velvet afros?
Yeah.
And you had to get a black light, and then it would glow at night.
Yeah. So how old were you when you got that?
I was probably about 13 when I bought that. And
so it was on velvet or something, I imagine, too, right?
Yeah, I think like that. Yeah, it was on velvet, I believe.
Yeah. You know, and it's amazing that everything that is old is new again. I saw a resurgence. I saw a show in LA where this artist was painting on velvet. And I'm like, you just got that from the hood in the 60s and 70s, you know? Yeah, that's interesting. So what is your, so is that one of your early, so I'm going to put a pin here too. And this is for anyone that's looking at your work tonight. I'm going to tell you right now, if you are bit by the gene a bit of engaging with work, you cannot see a piece that inspires you and forget it. So the one thing I will tell you as a dealer that breaks my heart is when people come into my gallery and they enjoy a work, and then they call me back 3 weeks later expecting that work is going to be there. These works are unique. They're inspired by some special like impetus that's in the artist's head. And so what Jay is showing you tonight, it's available, but don't call him next week and expect that it's there. I mean, this is not mass produced. These are unique, one of a kind pieces. And so they are treasures. And I know there are works that I have seen in the course of my life that I did not buy, or I was skittish. And then I have some works in my mind from 20 years ago that are emblazoned in my brain, but never to see those works again. But on the flip side, there are works that I've purchased that I live with and enjoy, and the hours of contentment they bring is just hard, it's just, I can't put words to it. And so if you haven't already, please go to his website. But in terms, are there other early memories that you can think of that sparked that energy for you?
Well, I remember also, I was probably about the same age, 13 or 14. I drew this, this is when I kind of realized I had some skills. Besides drawing the character in the TV guide,
Mm-hmm.
I drew a picture of Stevie Wonder from Songs in the Keys of Life on my wall, on my bedroom wall. And it looked just like him. And I said, oh man, I think I got some skills there.
What did your mama say?
Well, she liked it too, so she didn't say much.
She didn't say much. Okay. Okay.
And it was just a pencil, so I mean, it could have been painted over or erased, but I think we left it there for a long time. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And so did you actually send the sketch off, or did you just make the sketch from the TV guide?
No, I think
you made it. Okay.
Yeah, just made it. Yeah, I didn't send it. I was too young to go to art school at the time.
Right. So then I want to just shift gears a little bit. So then you progressed. Did you do anything in high school related to the arts or your creativity?
Well, one of my favorite classes was art class, and that's when I first painted. I did, I think in 11th grade, I did an acrylic paint, which was terrible looking back at it. But then in high school, we did some oil paintings, and they turned out really, I did a self-portrait back then, and I did a painting of the model Iman.
Oh,
and
okay.
And it was nice. I mean, I was first time using oil paint. I was loving the way the the colors were blending together, and it really turned out nice.
So you really learned, I mean, the one thing I know from artists is that oil paint is really difficult to work with, right? Because it takes so long to dry, and it's really has a very strong smell, correct? Yes. When it dries as well. And so, and it's not the shortcut. So how did you start with oil? Was there a teacher? Was it the class?
Well,
was it an artist?
Yeah, it was a class. It was in high school. So I mean, it was our introduction to oil painting, and I really like the way that since it does take so long to dry, it's easier to blend the colors together.
Okay.
And acrylic, it took me a while to get that same effect with acrylic. And then later on, I was using watercolor, and to me, watercolor is easy to blend too, and pastels. But that's when I was trying to, I was trying to become more of a photorealist artist. And then I, at some point I got away from that and paint the way I paint now.
So what was your inspiration for wanting to be a photorealist?
To me, it was I was impressed with making making images. I was impressed with the skill of making images look the way like a photograph looked, or the way a person actually looked. And then as I matured as an artist, I was thinking a lot of artists are doing this, and I didn't think my imagination was that great to kind of stand out. So I had to change up to do something different.
You know, formally, this isn't something that is often talked about, but you know, I have a real belief that impressionist painting really evolved after the development of photography. So photography was developed in the late 1800s, right?
Right.
And so then you had all the impressionist painters like Monet, you name the list. And I was trying to reconcile, like, why would they shift, you know, their style so dramatically? Because when impressionist painting was actually first introduced in the salons, it really wasn't, you know, it wasn't viewed as real painting. They didn't, because it didn't have those real qualities that you were speaking of, right? And so these artists were at the vanguard, right? Kind of reconciling a difference between, okay, now we have photography. And so because before, painting was a way to create a scene that you had no other way of capturing.
Right.
So now you have photography,
So
painting.
Yeah, so you didn't, I mean, you could buy, you know, hire a photographer.
You can hire a photographer. So you didn't need a painter
have to sit there for hours
to paint the scene. And so when I heard you say that and we hadn't talked about this before, that you had been into photorealism before and then went to abstract, I was like, wait, you just followed the narrative of art history to a degree, right? And so I wanted, well, before we go further, what I'd like to do is look at some more of your work.
Okay. All right.
Enlightened. And this is 30 by 40. It's a great size. Looking forward.
I like painting large, but I know a lot of people run out of wall space. So
right.
So,
but this is a great. This is your nephew, I believe you told us, right?
Yes. This is painting with my nephew.
Yeah, this is a 36 by 48 piece. This is a great size to really have a impact and to make a statement in a room.
A signature piece, yes. It'll be a signature piece, a focal point in the room. Yeah.
And I believe you said that you start with the eyes, and you can see how poignant the eyes are. They're piercing, actually. You first come into the painting through the eyes, and then you start to, kind of, engage with this young kid's majesty, that you have, kind of, you have taken to another dimension in terms of giving that depth of color.
Right. Yes. And actually, I don't know if you can see, but this I did two of him. This was the first one I did on my shirt.
Oh wow.
And, yes. And then I did this one a few years ago. But this one was my first it was like one of my first signature pieces.
And so how did he sit for this, or did you paint this from a photograph?
I took a picture of him.
You took a picture, and then what did you give him one?
I gave him a print of the first one. Yeah.
You did? Okay. Yeah, I always think that's interesting that folks will sit as a model, and then their works could end up any number of places,
Right.
And so that's interesting. In terms of artist influences, who are some of the artists that have influenced you and that you follow?
Okay, so recently, I think one of the baddest artists out there right now is a Howard alumnus, and that's Bisa Butler. She's in the fabric art, and but she uses pretty much the same palette that I use. I'm kind of attracted to other artists that use the same palettes that I use. Another one is this guy from Haiti named Raphael Sagaj. He's out. I think he's out of Atlanta right now.
Okay.
And then there's this artist I follow, and I believe he's from Nigeria, and I may not be pronouncing his name correctly. His name is his first name is spelled IBE, and his last name is Ananaba. But his work to me is really awesome.
Does he use a flat knife?
I believe he uses a palette knife. Yes,
a palette knife.
Yes, yes. And then there's a local DC artist that I kind of follow, Jay Coleman. I'm not sure if you heard of him, but he's actually, before I got started, we had some classes at the Corcoran, and when I was getting ready to really get back into my art, I used to go hang out at this place on U Street called Cafe Nima, and he used to be there all the time, and he had his artwork all around there. And I would just sit there in amazement, look at his artwork, because he uses a lot of colors also. And also the artist that the premier, I forget her name, but she's the artist who has most of the work in Busboys and Poets.
Okay.
That kind of inspired me too when I got started. Yes.
Nice. I sidebar, I bartended at Cafe Nima.
Oh, okay.
For a minute, yeah, because I decided I wanted to be a bartender after the movie Cocktail came out. And so the guys over, I used to go there all the time, and I told them,
that was one of my spots too.
It was my spot. And the problem was I worked behind that bar a few nights, and all I was making was rum and Coke and vodka and orange juice. I was like, okay. Any rate, so now, I asked, one of the things I thought would be interesting, if you could tell, our audience, because what they see is the finished product, but I wanted to get into the process a little bit. And the process begins with a little bit around, where do you paint? What's your environment? Do you have a studio, special studio, garage, basement, outdoors?
Okay, well, currently I'm using my garage and my basement. I had a studio a few years ago. I had this project. I don't know if you heard about the project I did at Meridian Hill, at the old Meridian Hill. I had a project there, so I had some big pieces I had to do. 8 big pieces, so I needed some space. So I rented out the studio in North Brentwood, Maryland. But after that was over, I decided to, just bring it back home, because actually I'm still working full time, and I plan on retiring this year. So I figured that would save me some money if I didn't have to pay that studio rent.
Your practice is your studio practice is about to take off. Let me just tell you that. I'm like prophesying that for you.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Okay, but I wanted to ask you about, I want to get detail about your studio. Like, first of all, do you let other people in?
Yes, I do.
And do you host studio visits there?
Well, normally I'll hang everything around my house, and then I'll invite people in. And if they want to go down to where actually the work gets done, I'll take them down there also. Because it can be junky down. I mean, I have stuff everywhere.
That is why I'm asking you. I want to know what is on the floor and what's on the walls in your place that you paint.
Yeah,
like you have something that's inspiring, or some words or poem, or.
No. I have I think unfinished pieces. Sometimes I have hanging around.
Okay.
They help me, help me realize what I need to get done next, and then I like to listen to music too while I'm painting.
Okay.
Yeah, that helps me a lot too. But right now I'm working on some big pieces in my garage. So this is the right time, because the weather's perfect. It's not too cold. It's not too hot. The mosquitoes aren't out yet, so I can open my garage door and play some music and paint, and it's working out well for me. And the floor is paint. There might be paint on the floor, all kind of stuff, but I'll get down on the floor if I need to.
But that's why I asked the question, because I think as a person that appreciates art and collects art, I think, and I'm really sharing this for our listeners and viewers, is that to have the privilege of walking into an artist's domain where they're actually making the work, it's a different experience. It's a different experience than seeing it in a presentation space or an exhibition or in a gallery. To see it as it's unfolding, I think gives much more context and color to you as you work, because what I've experienced with with artists and going to studios is you see what their references are. Sometimes they can't even tell you what their references are. You see their research and things that they're thinking about in the future. You see what you've taken Polaroids of that you may not even started. And then you can say, yo, when you do this, I want that. Or this that you thought was trash over here, would you sell that to me? And it might've been a study.
Right, right.
Am I right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yes.
Right, yeah. So I wanted our listeners to think about like the process, and being in an artist studio is being like in high form of really getting engaged in art making, and getting a glimpse into the artist's world. And you talked a bit already about oil versus acrylic and the materials you use. Is there any other special qualities or characteristics that you think about in terms of the materiality of your work?
Well, I like a lot of texture in my work. So like if I'm using acrylic, I try to get a heavy body acrylic, and oil by itself already is kind of heavy. So I like using oil when I use oil. And I also to stay, I mean, there's still fumes with oil, but I use a water-based oil, so I don't have to clean up with turpentine.
Okay.
Or anything that's harsher. So I try to use a water-based oil. But I like to just put down a stroke and let you be able to see the brush strokes. I mean, through the texture of the paint, and also sometimes with the acrylic, I've been using like a molding paste to make it a little thicker. And I use that, and a palette knife, and I use a palette knife too sometimes on some pieces.
That's awesome. So the one thing when you just said, you reminded me of something that we talked about before, and that is the stroke. And that is something that is clearly evident in your works. And it's almost like each stroke is like a nugget, it's a gem. And it reminded me of another artist, right? And it's another Howard artist, and many people might be familiar. She was a student of Lois Mailou Jones, who essentially started the painting program at Howard. And there were many luminaries that came through, right? David Driscoll's one, but Alma Thomas in particular, to me, when I think of your work, the primary difference is that her execution was mainly abstraction, but you've taken that stroke that's very prominent and defined and made it into a portrait execution. And so,
I did have a chance to take a look at some of her work, and you can see each stroke, each brush stroke that she puts on canvas. And I had seen some of her work before too, that like there's a circular piece that I've seen.
Did you see your work in that? I mean, I hope. I mean, yeah.
I mean, but I do see that. Yes, it's that, and that's kind of what I like people to see, just the one stroke, because I tried just to make one stroke at a time.
Right.
And she definitely did that.
Right. Well, thank you. And now we have one more little art break. So we have a few more works that we're going to see, and then we'll kind of wrap it up and then turn it over for the audience to ask some questions. This is Gazelle in White Lace. And he's royal. And then this is Far Off Look. And again, you can see those defined brush strokes. I mean, it's deliberate and it gives you depth and texture. And this is Eddie's Blues. Natural Dreads. Excellent. So I just want to remind everyone, if you thought that was too fast, we just want to give you a quick snippet and view. Please go to Jay's website. It is Jay Durrah's Art. That's with an S, jaydurrahsart.com. And you can find more information. You can find information about pricing, but better yet, you can buy. And so we really encourage you to do that. What you do is you not only support an artist, you support a Black artist. You create and have an opportunity to have something that's visually just stunning and beautiful in your home or office that you can look at, enjoy all the time. And then lastly, Jay has been generous enough to offer a portion of his proceeds that from works that he sells tonight to the scholarship efforts of the Capstone Group. So with that, I just wanted to ask you one more question and then we can open it up for questions.
Sure.
Is there a favorite exhibition that you can recall? And the reason why I ask this question is that for folks that are new to really enjoying art and trying to determine what they like and to place things that they're considering into context, it's really important to see exhibitions. It helps you determine. And the one thing I want to say is, so many times I hear people say, I don't know much about art. I don't know, I don't understand it. I don't know how to get what I should get. Like, no, that's the wrong approach. The approach is like what catches your eye. It's no different than seeing a car go down the street that you know, that just immediately kind of like captivates you. Or if you're a woman, you know, you see another woman with some shoes on that you like, and you're like, you know, they're not Birkenstocks, but they're this, you know, it's no different. And so your personal taste is really the only thing that matters. And if you don't like it, it's no condemnation on the artist. It's no condemnation on your level of understanding, education, or intellect. It's just that you don't like it, and that's okay. The point is, there is going to be some art that you like, right. And I think it'd be hard not to like this art, but that's my bias speaking now. But please enjoy it. Please go to the website and let's take some questions from our audience.
Now, you said you had a question about one of my favorite venues.
Yes, yes. I'm sorry, you're supposed to answer that. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I was giving you a chance. I was giving you a chance to talk about it.
So the past couple of years, I guess 2019 and 2018, I had an opportunity to show at an art fair during Art Basel, but it wasn't Art Basel. It was during, they call it Miami Art Week, and there's a
time out. Just for education purposes, Art Basel is a generic term, almost like, you know, Charmin or something, right? Right. Art Basel is really indicator of what it is called Miami Art Week.
Right.
And so, and the reason why I wanted to stop you, Jay Durrah, is that I didn't want you to diminish where you were showing. I wanted everyone to understand contextually that, you know, going to Miami Art Week, or what people call Art Basel, is really going to the city where there might be 10 amazing art fairs with thousands of artists showing. And so to be at any one of those, it's like going into the mall at Pentagon City, or you name the city, and going into Neiman Marcus and then acting like the other stores don't matter.
Okay.
Get it? Okay.
Yeah. So I've been in the show called Spectrum Art Fair. And I
which is very well respected, by the way.
Right, and it's in the Wynwood. It's in the Wynwood Convention Center. Wynwood is the artsy area of Miami, and you have visitors from all over the world there. And I really appreciate. I really love that. And then I've always liked doing art fairs just to talk to other artists and meet other artists. Also, it's a way of fellowship and share ideas. But I think that was. So far, that's probably been like one of the highlights of my career is going to Miami.
Well, I bet you'll be back, because the one thing, I had a day job for years, and as in the bio, and then I, stopped doing that and started focusing on art full time, and it's now been about 6 years, and my level of knowledge, my level of engagement. I mean, people start to take me much more seriously. I had a gallery for 2 to 3 years before I was doing it full time. And it was a difference in terms of the way people would engage with me if I talked about, oh yeah, I got this job, but then I do this on the side. No, it's kind of, people want to see that you're in it, and that is going to make a difference.
Right. Yeah.
I got a question. We got a question from Michelle.
Okay.
Hello there. So I know Jay because Jay and I are both from Pittsburgh, but I live in New Jersey. Hi, Paul Long. Barry and Curtis's friend Michelle. How are you? So
Thank you.
I wanted to know, and I actually own 4 pieces of Jay's work. So we
Yeah,
love it
thanks,
in my
Lucia.
household. I
Yeah.
even donated a piece to the New Jersey Club for a scholarship.
Oh,
So
wow.
I wanted to just ask a question with regards to your inspiration. So right now, we're dealing with, of course, right now we have Black Lives Matter, all of our systemic racism, all of the police brutality. When you are painting, what's your inspiration? For instance, you said you're working on a really big project. Not sure, I expect you to tell us what it is. But are you typically thinking about the outside forces? I mean, what's happening in the world? Because the last piece that I bought from you is, I think it's Scent of a Woman.
Yes, yes, that was the last piece. So, I mean, I think as artists, we have a duty to kind of reflect what's going on in society. And I did have an opportunity to paint a mural in Gallery Place during the George Floyd protest. And it was a painting of a young man, a young boy actually. And I had a caption at the bottom saying, "Am I next?" Because, you know, with this uncertainty I mean, it's like Black men have a target on their back, or it's not even Black men even now. It's Black people all ages, 16-year-old, 13-year-olds. And it's a shame that people have to, I mean, you have to live in this society where you worry about your life being taken by a cop. And I thought that was a important message I wanted to put out there during that time. And actually, these murals belong to the National Building Museum right now, and they had an exhibit out in front of their museum for a few months. But I mean, I think besides, you know, what's going on in society, I'm a lover of history, and there's some people that I look up to, and I from time to time I'll do a portrait of like Malcolm or James Baldwin or Martin Luther King, and I have a list of other people that I want to do in the future. Every time I do a Frederick Douglass, I can't keep it. Somebody buys it right away. But I think this is my way of maybe passing on history to other people by painting some images of some historical figures. And also I like, just because I like history, I'm getting into some period pieces now of some of my ancestors. I've been doing some of those recently.
Nice.
Oh, great. And we have our intern, Marlenis, and after that, Pamela Palmer.
Okay.
And we have one in the chat also.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Marlene Hernandez. I'm an intern for the Capstone Group. A question I have is, as an artist, did you like go through the obstacles of learning anatomy and the proper forms of drawing? Because I'm an aspiring artist, I love to draw and sketch, but through the years I started I started to stop because I was very I wasn't very, what's the word? I just didn't like my art because I didn't think it was good enough because I wasn't great at what I was doing. So I stopped, but now I'm getting back into it. So I wanted to know, like, what are some tips to go by to get my arts and my style together?
Okay, and I'm self-taught, so I think an artist needs to be you need to be a forever student and always trying to learn. Like now, I may go to sometimes I go to live drawing classes, figure drawing classes, just to increase my skills, and I need to something I'm going to do in the future is work on digital art, because I took a class maybe some years ago at the Corcoran, and I really liked it, but I haven't really done a whole lot with that yet. But it seems like everybody, I mean, not because everybody's doing it, but like sometimes I'm competing for mural projects, and the ones that are winning or they're getting these projects are doing a lot of digital work. So I may have to get into that a little more. But as a aspiring artist, you don't want to ever stop learning, and always try to you know, if there's something you want to learn, just don't worry about what it looks like. Just keep on doing it until you will get better.
Jay, can I add something to that? And I had the good fortune of being mentored by the great Peggy Cooper Cafritz before she passed away. And everyone knows that she was, you know, the grand dame of the Washington art scene.
Right.
She's one of the co-founders of the Duke Ellington School of the Arts, but she also was an incredible art collector, supported my gallery. And, but more importantly, in the end, she gifted, when she passed away, 2/3 of her collection to the Studio Museum in Harlem and 1/3 to the Duke Ellington School. But the one thing that she would ask me anytime I presented work to her, she would ask me, is the artist trained? And then second, what are they reading? What are they reading was more important than are they trained? Because what she wanted to know is that the person, that the artist was intellectually curious, that they were expanding their mind with other issues and current events or the classics or anything that would inform or make the work deeper. And I just want to echo, I just had the opportunity to hear Felicia Rashad last week when she was being interviewed. I don't know if everyone knows this, but she's a candidate to become the dean of the College of Fine Arts at Howard when it reopens. And she gave a talk, and she talked about the same thing, and that she had went to teach a master class, and she said, "Look, I told the kids, I was like, stop reading scripts." For in this case, it was theater. Go read a novel, go read something else, go read the paper, go read something that's gonna enlighten your mind while you're also practicing and solving these solutions that are as you are painting. And so, you know, there's one artist everyone probably knows, or he's pretty well known now, Titus Kaphar. He had a long-standing exhibition at the National Portrait Gallery. But one thing he says is he paints every day. And Marlene, I hope you're still listening. He paints every day because every day he's solving a problem. And that might be how the light hits the face at this hour, or how you render the hand holding something. No matter where you are in your development, you're always evolving and trying to solve a problem that is going to play out in your work. And so those are just 2 tips for a young artist.
And also, just real quickly, you're going to be your biggest critic, but sometimes you just have to step aside and let other people appreciate your work. But you're going to be your biggest critic, regardless of what you do or how good you are. You're still going to find something wrong. I often find things wrong with my pieces, but
that's because you're always improving. You're always solving those problems. That's it. It's like it's a lifelong pursuit. We have another question in the chat. Is it challenging to make a living as an artist? What would you tell youth who are interested in becoming visual artists?
Okay, it could be challenging because there's thousands of artists, but don't be discouraged, because what's for you is for you. What God plans for you to be, that's what you'll be. So and you have the internet, you have Instagram, you have so much. The media is wide open to you, so there's plenty of opportunities out here that you don't necessarily need the traditional forms of marketing your work, because you have access to marketing yourself.
Okay, and now we have Pamela Palmer.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sana. I'm a sophomore at Howard. I'm from Brooklyn. And my question is, were you active as an artist at Howard? And if yes, did you find that your major in political science impacted your art style and what you wanted your art to convey?
Okay, well, I wasn't very active as an artist back at Howard. I mean, I think I had a drawing in the UGSA calendar one year. And I was helping out with a homecoming design one year. But other than that, I would draw sketches for my friends, and that was pretty much it. But I back then it was pretty much just a hobby. And it wasn't until even as an adult, it was pretty much just a hobby until I used to always say if I had more time, I would paint more. And then I was working and at Verizon, and then in 2009 I got laid off. So I realized if this is now's a better time. I mean, it's as good a time as any to really jump into this to really dedicate myself to my artwork. And I've been going ever since then. And I'm hoping that once I retire, that I'll be able to really step it up a level. But I wasn't really doing too much art back at Howard.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's another question from Saquon Shaw. What is the most difficult part in painting for you, such as brainstorming, getting started, etc.? And there's a two-part question. Second, is there such a thing as burning out in the world of an artist?
I'm gonna start with that one first. I wouldn't say burnout, but you can get blocked. You can have blocks at times, depending on what else is going on in your life. Sometimes it's hard. It may be hard to find motivation at times, and but you have to motivate yourself. But I do find it's like when the virus hit, I was like glued to CNN for like months before I started, before I got up and went down to my studio. And I mean, I think life gets in the way sometimes, but as long as you get back at it, that's the key to me, getting back at it, no matter when. And also, another key motivator is if I'm doing commission pieces and I have deadlines, that always motivates me. And I forget what was the first part of the question?
It was, what is the most difficult part in painting for you?
And I'll say that staying motivated sometimes. I mean, staying motivated when you really don't. I mean, you're not motivated, and getting back into it. But you just have to. I notice when I get down, sometimes I don't feel like going down the paint, but all I need to do is squeeze out some paint, pick up a brush, and I'm good to go. So
how long does it take you to complete paintings, Jay? Are you like a one that studies it for a while? Or are you one that kind of is like, you just like, pound it out?
It can vary, but I'll tell everybody on average a month. But when oil paintings, it used to take me at least a month. But acrylics, I can probably do in 2 or 3 weeks to complete a piece. But oils, it would take longer. And then there's other pieces that I'm still trying to work out the composition and how I'm going to finish it. So I have some pieces, a few unfinished pieces that I have to get back to. But that's a goal, get back to.
Is there anything else you want to share that we didn't ask you, Jay, or any words of wisdom? It seems like there are a number of burgeoning artists here. So if there are other secrets, any places of where you get materials?
Well, I just wanted to say how I really started off, because I had started off in 2009, really started producing some paintings, and I needed a place to show them. And as you probably know, you have to build up your reputation before you can start to approach galleries. So I did a lot of street fairs and street markets first, and then as I got then I wanted to move the big art fairs. So I started applying to art fairs in other cities, just try to get my work out there more. And then I started doing like bigger shows like Essence and the New Orleans Jazz Festival. And I used to go to New York to the Lincoln Center. They had a big art fair up there. And one thing I really, really enjoyed, I mean, sometimes you would go and you wouldn't sell anything, but other times you would, you have some great events. But it was always valuable just being there with other artists and fellowshipping with other artists and meeting other artists. I know probably most of a lot of the contemporary Black artists today that are on that circuit, like Charles Bibbs, I've met him, Poncho, Leroy Campbell, Kevin Williams Watt. I've met so many people, Deborah Shedrack, and that's invaluable. To me, that's invaluable, just to be able to share ideas with some of those folks, some of my contemporaries.
I have
I
a
don't,
question.
okay.
How do you do a self-portrait? Do you take a picture of yourself or do you pose in the mirror or how does that work?
Well, what did I do for that one? I think I took a picture of myself, but I posed in the mirror first, and then I took a picture of myself in the mirror, but and then I painted it. So I use reference photos quite a bit. Sometimes I paint from my head, based on memory, but it's hard for me to paint a picture of someone specific without looking at a reference photo. But I could, but so sometimes I'll use, I'll paint from my head, but a lot of times I use some type of reference photo. And lately I've been going out taking pictures of people that I thought would make a nice painting.
Do you ever paint with a model and
I've done quick, I've done some watercolors and I've done some drawings with a model, but normally, like when you go to those types of sessions, you might have 3, maybe 4 hours at most. So I always try to finish something when I go to those sessions, try to finish it before I leave, and because I don't know if I'm be able to make it back. So and that is real. I really enjoyed that because it's enhancing my skills, and I think that as a portrait or figurative artist, that we need to. There's nothing like painting or drawing from a live model.
Yeah, take a look at Jazz Knight's work if you haven't. I think it's JASKNIGHT. He is Brooklyn based, and he only paints from life.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. And it's KNIGHT?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Mm-hmm.
So we got a question from an old friend, Howard Hamilton.
Howard Hamilton.
Hey, everybody. Great program.
Happy belated birthday to you too, brother.
Thank you, my brother. Learning a lot of good information. One thing that I'm seeing, the artwork is beautiful. Look at it on the screens, it's outstanding. You can tell a lot of love is put into it. Do you have?
How many do you own?
I wasn't going to go there. About 5.
Okay.
But do you have any upcoming programs or art shows that you can share so folks can kind of get a real look at your work? Seeing you on screen is one thing, but actually going to and actually you also said you invite people to your house sometime. How can you get an audience to do that and have some type of tour to see your actual work?
Okay, yeah, you can just contact me to do that. But also a big supporter of my work right now is this place in Upper Marlboro called Wellspring Manor and Spa. Actually, one of the owners, Lisa Brown Alexander, is a Howard graduate, and her husband went to Tuskegee. But they have about 11 of my pieces at their, they have a bed and breakfast in Wellspring Manor, and they also have an art barn. So I have pieces throughout the bed and breakfast, and then I have some pieces in the art barn. And they have events every 3rd Sunday of the month. Even during COVID, we were they would only allow certain people, a certain amount of people in at a time to keep, so people can keep the safe distance. But it's they have something every month. So that right now, that's the only place I'm showing, because there's really that's not the only place I'm showing, but they have most of the pieces that I have on display right now. And also there's a place in Hagerstown, Maryland called Just Looking Gallery. They have a few of my pieces now also. And if you ever want to come by and check out my studio, feel free to just contact me. My telephone number is on my website, and just give me a call or send me a text or something like that.
Jay, I'm going to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you this evening, learn a lot more about your practice. I'm really excited about where it's going to take you. I think that it sounds like you obviously have a great loyal base, but there's a world out there for you. Yes. And I look forward to see the rest of your career unfold.
Okay, and I look forward to coming to Long Gallery sometime.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, I wanted to say thank you both. This has been so enlightening and so educational. I've learned a great deal, just in terms of like the reference in terms of, getting kids out so that they can be influenced by everyday life. It's been beautiful, and I will be purchasing one of your beautiful works. So
Okay, thank you. Look forward
turn
to
it over to Shawande. It's been a pleasure having both of you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and Maria, are you related to Lois Maylou Jones?
No, but I'm related to Kelly Jones, who's an art historian.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to get her on the call, but she's busy.
Well, please tell her I said hello. I
will
run
definitely
into her a lot at Columbia.
Right. I was wondering that.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Cool.
I know her. But what I was going to also, I got to do one more last plug. jaydurrahsart.com. Go see the work, enjoy it, buy it, and have some dollars flow through to the scholarship program for Capstone.
Yes, absolutely.
Can I mention one thing?
Thanks, Louis. This was a great conversation. I could go on and on, but I know Louis has got to run, and we have some Capstone business to go over. So thank you all for listening. Thanks again, Jay. Did a great job.
Thanks for inviting me, man.
Well, that's it for our event. We hope you've enjoyed it. If you'd like to become a member of the Capstone Group or make a donation to our scholarship fund, click on the link below. Take good care and enjoy.